Welcome everybody to episode 98, marking our first episode of 2024. We are back after a short hiatus. We appreciate everyone's support and patience while we were away through pretty much all of the holiday season and all of January, unfortunately. But we're all here. We've got the usual suspects. I'm gonna go one by one, and as I go one by one, I'll let you have the podium to give you guys an opportunity to give a brief monologue. You know, catching us up with y'all. So first off, the Burt Brown Sugar, Courtney Tanner, how you doing today, man?
Hey, how you all doing? Blessed to be back in the building. It's been a while, but hey, it's irrelevant because we back. First, I want to start out by giving a shout out to the lovely Miss Lovejoy Agonoy in Singapore for showing love, hooking it up with the Standing 8 merch. And my Oscar speeches at the end of these shows, shouting out all our viewers in all these different countries. That was not cap. We got reach like that. So hey, thank you to all our international viewers, and thank you to y'all, man, for giving me the opportunity and the platform, for being back in the building. And hey, from this point, we can dispense with the pleasantries, and let's talk some boxing, y'all.
That's what's up. And again, thank you, Joy, out of Singapore, for hooking up Courtney up with the polo merch. So appreciate your support. Next up, we got Tommy Rush Jr. out in Dallas, Texas. Any opening words for the new year to start this episode 98 off? Go ahead, Tommy.
Hey man, the new year, it's the same old thing. We're gonna talk all of that boxing shit. So we ready. We ready to get right back at it. Blessed to be here. Blessed for some great health. Been trying to avoid some things and everything. There's a lot of stuff going around lately. So all blessed to be here and blessed to be on with y'all. So let's go.
Awesome. And also, we got the first lady of boxing, Miss Tiffany Daniels. Any opening words you want to start off with on this episode 98?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. I was getting some issues over here on my feed. I was making sure. I just want to say Happy New Year. It's been exciting. I'm excited for what 2024 has to hold for boxing. And it's just been exciting seeing some of the fighters that I know personally on the local level kind of do some things on the amateur level and on the pro level. So I'm just excited to see what happens next.
Awesome. So let's get straight to it, to the featured topic of tonight, and that is Terence Crawford making it known that a fight between him and Canelo Alvarez will be the biggest fight in boxing right now. So from Crawford's point of view, it's the type of fight that seems the most logical to make, given the circumstances surrounding the other opponents that's been attached to Crawford. One, the rematch with Spence is no longer a sure thing, given his eye surgery. Second, Crawford, he said he has removed Jermell Charlo from the so-called hit list after his one-sided loss to Canelo. And third, Crawford is pretty much done with the 147 division. Specifically speaking, he's not really entertaining a fight with Jaron Ennis. So considering all those situations, coupled with the fact that Crawford just unified the welterweight division, I think Crawford going forward is only looking for that one mega fight to conclude his career, and he sees Canelo as the only one who meets that criteria of such a fight. Now, based on Canelo's several appearances on podcasts and talk shows late last year, he has not shared that same enthusiasm. In his mind, a win over Crawford, even at 168, would do nothing for his career in terms of legitimacy. Sure, another big payday secured, but it would add nothing of substance, defeating a fighter who has never competed even around middleweight. So I'm not sure if boxing fans are really serious in wanting a Canelo versus Crawford fight. For me personally, I'm not craving for it. I'm more concerned about Canelo fighting more of the deserving names in his division, namely speaking, David Benavidez, David Morrell Jr. As for Crawford, I'd like to see him still compete at 154. Hopefully, he would still consider a Jermell Charlo fight. Virgil Ortiz recently just touched down at 154. And of course, you've got Tszyu, the reigning WBO champ. So, Tommy Rush Jr., let's get your thoughts about Terence Crawford making headlines, calling for that fight against Canelo Alvarez.
Man, so this has been something that's been a talk for a little while now. We seen this post the Spence fight, and so I really think that a lot of this boils down to what Terence Crawford said. That he was after he defeated Spence and became 2-time undisputed. He said he wanted 3-time. And that's what he was talking about. And if we remember, at the time, he was down for going after Charlo for that, because Charlo held those belts and he was undisputed. But what happened? Charlo sold that zero, and he did what he needed to do to get that Canelo fight. And so, the next biggest fight, the next person that he could go after for a legacy, and 3-time undisputed was Canelo. He did also say, in that time period where he was talking about that, to give him about a year to try to bulk up for it. He felt extremely confident that, given about a year or so amount of time to really put on that additional weight and not try to throw it on quickly, that he would still be able to compete in an outstanding fashion against somebody like a Canelo Alvarez. Now, to answer your question, I'm about like you. It's not something that I'm saying, yeah, we need to see this type of fight. Like, let's get this and let's make this fight happen. But if this does come to fruition, then I'm gonna be all damn for it, to see it and see what happens. Because one, we already know that Terence Crawford, he's kind of danced around it and talked about it as well, and we've all talked about it. He's not young, he's only probably have a few years left, and so he's really gonna give us a few more fights. So is this something that people could talk about and say is more about money? Sure, people could say that. There's a lot of different things that could be said. But what has been said as well is that he's going to chase that legacy, and this is something that that others have done, that we've seen Canelo do, that we've seen other people do, to dare to be great, and that's what he's looking to do here. In order to try to achieve what he's actually after to achieve, which is to be the only boxer, to be in this 4-belt era, to be 3 times undisputed. And so I think that that's really what he's going after, and what we could potentially even see. Who knows? I mean, we don't know what that fight is going to end up looking like, but for damn sure it would be a mega fight, and one that would sell a shitload, in the gate, and make both sides a lot of fucking money. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, you did mention his age in Terence Crawford, and given his age, I would understand how Crawford, traversing the 154 division, he wouldn't really want to do that the same way he did with the welterweight, because he has a limited amount of time. So again, I don't blame him for seeking Canelo, even if it would mean jumping 3 weight classes. So good points, Tommy. Tiffany, let's get your thoughts on Crawford's thoughts targeting that fight for Canelo in 24.
I'm really kind of like on the fence about it, kind of like what both you guys have brought up, as far as like Terence Crawford, doing there's fights that Canelo can do that we actually want to see, like Benavidez. We definitely want to see that fight. I know that's one of my top fights for Canelo Alvarez. And so, I can't really say who I want to bud the fight. But the moment that they keep bringing it up, I'm like, is this real? And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to be there. Even if it's in Saudi Arabia, I'm going to fly to Saudi Arabia if that fight happens. I'll tell you that right now. I'll be in Saudi Arabia. I thought about that. I was like, how long does it take for me to get to New York to Saudi Arabia? 16 hours. How many days do I need to recover? I've already mapped all of this out. So just so you know, I'll be there. But I'm with you, Tommy, on this. Canelo, with him just kind of shutting it down, is kind of like ironic, because he's the same type of person that chases the same type of goals. Like, he goes after legacy. He wanted to be undisputed. He was going all the way up to light heavyweight. He was doing things that people hadn't done. And we had seen him fight at 151 and fight at 147. So it's not like too far-fetched, but I'll watch it. I will watch it. I'm not going to turn that down. But like I said, I can't pinpoint anybody that I want to see Terence Crawford fight at 147, at 154. He needs that one big fight, and this will secure his legacy. So I say it's all good for him, but it won't look as good for Canelo, like Tommy said, because he's like, and like you said, Aaron, because he's so much bigger. And it's kind of like, if I win and it's like I beat him, he's a little dude. You know what I'm saying? But if he loses, it's kind of like, I lost to Terence Crawford. So
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's a lose-lose situation for Canelo.
Great thoughts, Tiffany. So, Courtney, let's get your perspective on all this regarding Crawford targeting Canelo in 24.
I mean, if it does happen, it's a fight. It's a fight for the ages, in that it's two guys in this era who have done nothing but go after legacy and hunt the big game and hunt the rewards that come from that. But as y'all have alluded to, it's a conundrum from Canelo, because there's a real possibility he could lose that fight against Crawford, because Crawford is going to bring to that fight more versatility than any opponent he has ever faced. And if he wins, well, then, as his detractors just have more fuel, in that you're only beating up guys that come up to fight you. So with Canelo, in his regard and his response to that, I can understand it. And as far as Terence Crawford calling for this fight and trying to rally public support for the fight, I can get that too, because with him being a little long in the tooth in the game, not having much time left, I think with fighters, with boxers particularly, as they get to this stage in their career, they have to seek these matchups that they can get up for. And I think Crawford is one of those highly competitive guys. He's got to be up for it. And we see at this point in stages like this, when guys, they fight, an obscure mandatory opponent, or they go up and fight the lesser known guys, they have a harder time getting up for that, and that's when their slip starts to show. And so, I think with Crawford, he's looking at it too, is the risk isn't in fighting Canelo. That's purely reward. The risk is in fighting a Tszyu. The risk is fighting a Victor Ortiz, in that these guys are dangerous, and they can catch him slipping, and then his legacy and what he's accomplished kind of slides or detracts with a loss for dudes like that, even though they're in higher divisions. But he's just been so dominant at 147. That's the next natural progression for him, where he wants to leapfrog that and go to astronomical heights with a matchup against Canelo. I mean, I think even getting in the ring, I think even getting Canelo to sign for that fight, as soon as the first bell rings, Bud is solidified in his legacy just off that alone, win, lose, or draw in that fight. So I understand both perspectives, but it's also one of those, it's where we as fans will definitely take it. It's definitely intriguing. It's definitely something to talk with your friends about. It's definitely something to argue in the barbershop about. But if it doesn't happen, hey, there's Benavidez, there's Morrell, there's a Bivol rematch for Canelo that are all intriguing. And even Canelo has talked about going up to cruiserweight and taking one of the straps up there. Those are all intriguing matchups for Canelo. In terms of Crawford, there's Tszyu, there's Tim Tszyu, there's even if he stays at 147, there's Jaron Ennis, and even as much as I hate to say it, a rematch against Spence, it can sell, it can generate discussion, it can generate buzz. So I mean, if they fight each other, it's a win for boxing. If they don't, and they fight these matchups, they're more progressed to take, that's a win too. So I just look at the discussion of this as a win-win, whether it happens or it doesn't.
I mean, Spence, he still exercised the rematch clause. So with the surgery, it's just technically still delayed further out. It's not technically called off. Could somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that, or is that still a possibility from what I'm seeing from my vantage point?
Typically there's a time frame in rematches and with rematch clauses that it has to happen in. I haven't read or heard anything about a time frame, but I would have to imagine that Spence can't just hold him off on fighting someone else forever.
Right. Great stuff. And also, so Tommy, let me redirect to you. Let's say, Canelo is remaining 2 PBC fights. There's reports that Jamal Charlo is one of them, and let's say he actually entertains Benavidez for the 3rd fight. If he goes that route with Canelo, what do you see Crawford doing in that time frame, in your opinion?
So I mean, honestly, I think that if he did, take that route and Crawford is pretty much left out. I would expect him to at least try to campaign in 154. I don't necessarily think that he would double back and go with the Jaron Ennis, Boots Ennis route. That one just seems like it seems like it's kind of lost that luster to really try to beef that one back up. There's been a lot of kind of shutdown on that one. So I mean, I don't think that really, if he's still going to campaign at 147, that there's really going to be much there. So I think that honestly, he would campaign 154. Where, like what we said, we've talked about Tszyu, which I thought that would have been one of the first fights that he would have gone after originally, until this kind of bubbled into the Canelo talk. But yeah, I would say the Tszyu era. I think that Tim would really be down for that one. He would call him out and challenge him, and we could see that one happen if that were the case. But yeah.
Great stuff, Tommy. So Stephen Rees, he's in the chat. So he says, if he wants to respond, Steve. Canelo isn't giving Al Haymon Benavidez on the 3-fight deal. That's going to the Saudis. So anyone want to respond to that?
Makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Unless Haymon jumps in bed with the Saudis. But I think that's unlikely, because I think the Saudis are very much they've made inroads with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and even Bob Arum. So but I think Haymon is going to make domestic fights, and and with this new deal with Amazon, I already see the direction it's going. Is in terms of when PBC first started, and it was on 51 million networks. And he's kind of shooting his wad per se, and giving us basically putting all the top guys in his stable on those premier platforms, and then it kind of tapering off and just going mediocre, and to where we saw it putter out, where it went back to Showtime exclusively, and we were getting mediocre matchups per se. I hope I'm wrong on that, but that's kind of been the Al Haymon footprint per se on that. But I think as far as the big matchups, I think as far as the hot fights that people want to see, it's basically rotated to Saudi Arabia, and they have a lot of money that they're looking to put into that. And I've read the stories with the Saudi government. The writing has been kind of on the wall, if people follow world events and economics, kind of particularly, is that the oil is quietly and slowly drying up over there, and the Saudis are looking for new revenue streams. And one of the big inroads they're trying to make is entertainment that brings tourism to Saudi Arabia, and they are all in on that, and they are putting a lot of investment and a lot of money from that royal family into they made a big splash in the sporting world when they started an alternate to the PGA Tour with the Live Golf the golf tour, and now we're seeing the same thing with boxing. So I think with them and the relationships that they're forming right now, I think that's where the money is. And I think if Crawford and Canelo does happen, I think it'll more than likely be in Saudi.
Yeah, good take, Courtney. And also, I want to showcase a series of comments from Julian Gibbons. He makes some good points back to back. He states, although Showtime is out of boxing, Canelo's next 2 fights will be broadcast on Showtime. Al is saving Benavidez fight for Amazon Prime, and he follows up with that. Hence, why it's not one of the 2 fights for 2024. He ain't taking no fight before Canelo. And Jose Rendon, he adds to that, as Julian alluded to, if the timeline on Bud retiring before Canelo or Benavidez, then why wait to fight Bud after Benavidez? Al wants Bud first, then Benavidez on a fight that isn't going anywhere. Any comments on that?
Hey man, we all know that Al is a sneaky, shifty one, and so I mean, as they're talking to it, as far as maybe trying to stall that Benavidez fight out to have that on Amazon Prime. Hey, he very well could be trying to lace that pocket real quick and make sure that he comes out with a splash with a fight like that on Amazon Prime. I mean, that sounds like a Heyman move for damn sure.
It seems kind of quick though. Like, Canelo usually fights May, September, something.
Yep, Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence.
We're already in February, like halfway in February. So like, something's gonna happen. They need to start saying something rather quickly than the next month to start camp. But I would imagine that if Canelo and Bud was to happen this year, the latter part of the year, Terence wouldn't fight anybody else. He'll just focus on camp. And that will be it. So.
I said it last time we were on air, and I'm going to reiterate it. And I know nobody wants to see it. I'm saying it: Canelo and Jermall Charlo. I think that's going to be next. And if for whatever reason that doesn't happen, I think it might possibly be David Morrell. But and I know there's a lot of talk with the Munguia's last performance. That and he was being very direct in saying that he wanted to fight with Canelo. I don't see that happening because I don't think Canelo is gonna mess with Oscar like that. And Munguia he's still on Golden Boy. That's still a DAZN platform, and Canelo is still under this deal with PBC. So I really don't see the logistics of that fight happening unless there's some major concessions that get made from Munguia's side. But even then, I think Canelo was very apt not to give Oscar any play with Golden Boy. I think he's very apt in it, and the likelihood of Canelo going back to fight on DAZN on that platform is highly likely, but it won't be it won't be with as a feature with Golden Boy. He's gonna go back to DAZN and he's gonna fight Matchroom fighters.
Right on. And another comment by Julian Gibbons. I think he was following up with what Tiffany said. He states, Julian Gibbons, I quote, waiting would normally be a bad thing, but I think Bud could use that time to bulk up properly for Canelo in September. So that makes sense.
I mean, I think the soundest logic would be for Bud to fight it if he wants to have a real chance against Canelo beyond the one that he already has. I think he would need an interim fight. He would need an interim fight with one of the bigger guys at 154. Now whether that's him getting in with Fundora or getting in with Mendoza, or somebody who's kind of on the fringes on 154 but still competitive, that might be it. But I don't think Crawford is an impulsive guy by any rate. So I would say I would not be surprised to see Bud go ahead and concede and take somebody in the interim before. And honestly, if he's really campaigning and pressing for that, that's a situation where he's more than likely than not gonna have to take an interim fight before I just don't see a situation where he hops right in with Canelo, or Canelo concedes and like, you know what, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and fight you. Because I don't think there's that much money on the table for that fight yet.
Courtney, what you don't realize about Terence Crawford is he ain't right up here. He's super competitive. He will say he gonna beat your ass, somebody else's ass. He gonna dunk on somebody else. Like he was at a funeral and he was telling little kids he was gonna beat their ass and dunking on people. A girl was in the WNBA. He challenged her to a basketball game the same day. He didn't have no clothes, no nothing. He was just gonna wear what he had on. This dude is outrageously competitive. He don't care if Canelo signs the thing. I think he'll just go ahead and do it without any other fight. That's how competitive this man is. I've never met anybody like that.
Oh yeah, if Canelo were to put paper to pen right now, yes, obviously Crawford would fight. He wouldn't have made the statement on Twitter and on these platforms if that wasn't his intention. If he wasn't down to do that. But there's what we want as individuals, and there's the reality of situations, and there's the business and the politics of boxing, and Canelo is very versed in that, right? You know what I'm saying, right now. It's one of the, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna marinate.
So I guess the overall feeling that we're getting, in my view, like we want the fight, but far down the road, but it's not really that imminent, per se. So let's see what happens. As far as
and I'm sorry, but in order for Canelo to be credible in that fight against Crawford, I think Crawford would have to demonstrate that he's viable beyond 147.
Yeah.
Just beyond the eye test, just beyond the capability, just beyond what he demonstrated in doing to Spence. I think in order for Canelo to really see a matchup with Crawford as being viable, Crawford would have to show him something beyond 147. Whether whether that's an impressive win at 154 or whether it's him jumping 154 and beating somebody up at 160. I think it's gonna have to. Crawford's gonna have to demonstrate something like that. Other than just being like on Twitter saying, "Yo, I want to fight Canelo. I'll beat your ass."
I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's fair for Canelo, assuming that's accurate. That it's fair for Canelo to want to see something from Crawford first. You got to show me something, Crawford. At least anywhere around my weight classes, my weight class, for me to entertain what you want in 2024 or 2025 for that matter. So it's going to be very
because Canelo takes a lot of heat. Canelo takes a lot of heat, and there's a lot of detractors who have the notion that Canelo doesn't fight you if you're too dangerous. I think it's the opposite. I think what Canelo's demonstrated by his career is he doesn't fight you until he believes that you're dangerous. I think him fighting Bivol, I think him fighting Kovalev at 175. I think him taking the steps that he did, that he has in moving up in the scales himself. I think I think that's where he's at. I think Canelo has to be, he has to be up for matchups too. And I think you kind of have to scare Canelo in order for him to sign to fight you. And I don't think Crawford has showed him anything where he's looked at it as like, yo, this dude, he might be, he might have something for me.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. So moving forward, since we kind of like mentioned Amazon Prime pay-per-view, well, it's going to happen March 30th. It's going to be a co-feature. First, you got WBO light middleweight champion Tszyu versus Keith Thurman in Vegas, and also on that with the co-feature of the super lightweight champion Rolando Rolly Romero versus Isaac Pitbull Cruz. So let's first start with Tszyu versus Keith Thurman. Tiffany, give us your overall assessment of that matchup come March 30th on PBC on Amazon Prime pay-per-view.
First, I'm kind of intrigued by the whole Amazon and how that's going to turn out. I want to see what the production looks like, so I'm interested about that. But in July, I met Keith Thurman in person. Man, that dude is a nice guy. You see boxers on TV and they're or on a show, and you just see how they are. But when you meet them in person, it's really that person. Like, I don't want this guy to lose. I feel bad. Like, but I'm still not I like Tszyu. I feel like he's like the next wave, but I'm still not sold on him. I was a big fan of Tszyu, huge fan of Tszyu. So internally, I want Tszyu to be like just as great as his dad was, or even better. But I'm a little bit scared for Keith Thurman, only because he's been inactive, and it's kind of a dangerous fight for him. So I'm a little bit concerned for Keith Thurman, although I'm rooting for him to win. So that's my sentiments. I'm excited to see the production. Are we just touching on Tszyu and Keith Thurman right now, or the whole card in general?
We're focusing on Tszyu and Thurman.
Okay, yeah, okay.
We'll get our takes, and then I'll transition to Raleigh and Pitbull. But I'm going off of what you said. As far as Keith Thurman, he's been. It has happened before with him. Like, he's coming back whenever he comes back from a break, regardless, he always brings his A game to the fight, win or lose. So in that aspect, I'm excited for the Tszyu fight. Tszyu, obviously he's very favored to win, but you cannot discredit what Thurman will bring to that fight. He brings smarts, technicality. So it's going to be interesting how Tszyu's style will match up with someone of Keith Thurman. So a great take, Tiffany. Tommy, let's get your thoughts on that matchup.
Man, I think that every bit of press that we're going to get through this is going to be, of pretty high caliber. So I'm excited to see that continue to roll, because it's already started off with some fireworks. But man, I think that fight is going to be something that we, as you said, Keith Thurman, he's going to bring his game, but I think this one is going to end up being a tough one. I mean, just purely due to, the inactivity that he's had on top of the inactivity once he came back. I mean, he's been in full namaste mode for quite a while. And I think that he's, as we just talked about previously, fighters, that have to really get up for a fight. He's trying to he's like giving every shot that he can right now to get up for this fight. And I think that we're going to see that in the ring. Like, essentially we're going to see some spurts, to start the fight off. But as they kind of alluded to in some of that shit talking, don't run around like, come on and let's fight. And, oh, you want me to stand there and let you beat me up? Like the way that they're kind of going back and forth. I think we'll actually see that in the ring, come towards about the middle of that fight. We're going to start to see, that Tszyu is going to be, asserting some dominance in that fight. And the smarts in the ring generalship that we're going to see from Keith runtime is what we're going to see. We're going to see some runtime. He's going to be trying to survive that fight at that point. And I think that, it may end up turning out, a bit brutal towards the end of that fight. So we may actually be seeing the retiring, of Keith Thurman in my mind, to be honest.
Tommy, the more you say runtime, it reminds me of what he once used to be, which was one time. And I just want to add that there. But a great take, Tommy. Courtney, let's get your thoughts on this upcoming fight on Amazon Prime pay-per-view, PBC, on Tszyu, Keith Thurman. Go ahead, Courtney.
It still only takes one time. It still only takes one time. Damn it. And you know what? Hey, I'm kind of coming back for the new year. I've put my foot in my mouth the last time I was on the show, when I took the Portuguese speaking community of America on my back with the Andrade prediction. But hey, you know what? Hey, damn it. I'm back on the block, and I'm saying this. It still only takes one time. Hey, shout out to my man Antoine Wilkes. Hey, shout out to Michael Cockrell. Shout out to my boy Guy Purcell. Hey, there's people out there. We still believe. Damn it, we still believe. And in my view, one time is still an undefeated fighter. And I'm as controversial as that statement is, Manny Pacquiao, he didn't have another round left in that fight. That fight made him rethink his whole career after that. And one time did that to him. So I came up. Let me take my hat off for this one, man. I came here blazing. So I'm gonna subtly set the scene and set the table for y'all. And my girl Tiffany, who is a Costa Tszyu fan, she's gonna know what's up with this when I say this. So I'm gonna take y'all back. I'm gonna take y'all back to Costa Tszyu's reign at 140. Had just had just smoked Zab. People were like, "Yo, who is this dude? Who is this dude coming out of the rubble of the former USSR?" Oscar wanted no parts of him. A lot of guys at 140, 147, they were like, "Yo, we don't want no parts of this dude." Costa Tszyu takes a mandatory defense of his IBF title against a guy who's coming up from 135, who is very obscure. His name was Vince Phillips. Came in there and upset the apple cart. Came in there and baffled Costa Tszyu, literally shaking his head after that was getting not because he got robbed, but because he was like, "Yo, this dude just did this to me." Fast forward to now, his son Tim Tszyu facing former unified 147 champion Keith one-time Thurman. Hey, I think the scene is set for history to repeat itself and for the son to pay for the sins of the father on that one. Hey, I think it's gonna be like that. I think Thurman took this fight because he's in a position where it's easy to count him out. It's easy to cast him off as the underdog in this fight. But Keith Thurman has always been crazy like a fox. You know what I'm saying? Keith Thurman has always moved in a way it was just like, wait, what? You know what I'm saying? And I think we're here with that. I think with Keith Thurman's versatility, what he's shown, his mental and the genius he's got in his corner with Dan Birmingham out of Tampa. Shout out to Joseph Correa. I think the scene is ripe for the apple cart to get upset, and for all these grand plans that Costa Tszyu has had since transitioning his career here to the States from Australia. I think it's going to be a situation where he's going to possibly have to rethink that and go back to the drawing board. All the physical advantages on paper with Costa Tszyu, and particularly, I think it's easy for a lot of people to look at Keith Thurman's past performances and be like, you know what? Nah, he's never been at 154. Look how big Tim Tszyu is. Nah, and Keith Thurman doesn't like it to the body. Nah, like, you know what I'm saying? But I think Keith Thurman, I think at 154, he's going to be well fed, he's going to be well rested, and he's going to be refocused, and he's going to bring something to the table that Tim Tszyu has never seen before. And I think Tim Tszyu is going to be less than ready. And if he's anything less than ready against the Keith one-time Thurman, those belts are coming back to the States.
Great stuff. And I want to reiterate Julian Givens' comment. He's on the opposite side of the spectrum, Corny. He says, does anyone think Thurman does? I mean, you already answered this already, but I just want to put it out there for the record. He states, does anyone think Thurman doesn't get stopped coming off a 2-year layoff? After Thurman's last layoff, he almost got knocked out against Tszyu Lopez. So I can see that part of it. Any of you want to take a dig at that comment? Tiffany or Tommy or Courtney again?
We've seen him come back off chronic layoffs. You know what I'm saying? Been that you know what I'm saying? That's what he does. You know what I'm saying? As far as Tszyu Lopez, I think that just demonstrates his durability as well as his versatility. The dude's got a chin. The dude, you know what I'm saying? People say he doesn't like the body. Nobody likes it in the body. You know what I'm saying? He's taking tremendous body shots and stayed up. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that, you know what I'm saying, that body shot that Pacquiao hit him, and his response was not to drop to a knee, not to fold up in the corner, but to get on his bike. That shows how much that shows how game you have to be in these matchups. I think the real intangible, though, it's one thing to take one to the body against the guys like Pacquiao, against a Danny Garcia. It's another thing to take it in the body from a guy who's coming in at 154 and is likely going to enter the match at 175, 178, and who's well over 6 feet tall like Tim Tszyu. But I mean, I'm not gonna go full fanboy in here for one time and say he can't be stopped, but it's one of those things. It's hard to envision something you have not seen before. So,
was that fight?
You know, Corny, even go ahead, Tiffany. I'm sorry.
Was that fight, that whole Zito Lopez fight? Was that after like the shoulder injury? Was that the return of him?
That's when he first came back.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. So I mean, I got mixed emotions about that. You know, like coming back after an injury like that. Just like if Errol Spence had a loss to like Danny Garcia, I wouldn't have felt too bad because it's like dude came back from something tremendous, and then he lost that fight. But that's what I was asking. I'm sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. And you know, Courtney, since Stephen Reeves is not here to add the fuel to the fire, we got this comment from Jose Rendon. Took a little dig at you. Courtney needs to change his name from Burt Brown Sugar to Long Shot or Courtney Apple Cart Tanner. I think he's pertaining to your prediction for Thurman. Any response to that, Courtney?
Listen, man, I've been Burt Brown Sugar on these streets long before he came up with that zinger, and I will be afterwards. But hey, we appreciate your love and your participation on the show.
And then you got Julian said never saw Fendora get stopped before, but he did. But that's a great point.
And on a general note, shout out to everyone on the comments. Also shout out to Sean Hicks from In Vivo. He asked, doesn't Thurman's activity? Oh, well, we already addressed this, but to reiterate again, the overall theme that we're sharing is no, because he's had a history of coming back. Like no matter how long the layoff, he's always been performed up to more than standard in his fight. So I think, and I share the same opinion with Corny as far as his performance, that he'll be more than ready against Tszyu. So yeah, thanks for that comment, Sean Nix.
Let's look at this. Let's really examine this though. I think I've been people are giving me crap about the apple cart and the long shot or whatever, but the thing is some of those people need to get off the bandwagon in terms of the dismissal of one time. The guy lost his only loss has come to a dude who is a first sure shot, first ballot Hall of Famer, and the guy who's been a unified title holder in his previous division. On paper, with the intangibles, he's coming in with a resume that is much more stacked than Tszyu's. You know what I'm saying? So if we're gonna look at it on that end, I'm a firm believer in you calling the game on both sides of the court. So I mean, people are gonna have to look beyond half court on their predictions if they choose to.
Great stuff. So let's transition to the other co-feature of PBC on Amazon Prime pay-per-view, which is Rolly Romero versus Isaac Pitbull Cruz. This matchup was made off the heels of the other failed negotiations with some other top names, which included most notably Ryan Garcia. He failed to make a fight with either of these guys. So, I spoke on a tangent, but let's focus on Romero versus Isaac Cruz. Tiffany, I'll give you your thoughts on that matchup, if any.
My first thought when I seen that is Isaac Cruz is too little. I feel like he's like a little tiny dude, man. Like he's so small. Is he gonna have to it's just, to me, it's just not a good style matchup. But if he gets close enough, he can really hurt Rolly. Because I'm not real. Rolly's a tough fighter. He's kind of unorthodox type fighter because I guess he comes from like a martial arts background. So the way he moves is a little bit different than normal boxers, and he has some different types of angles. So I feel like he can't get slept. But I just feel like Isaac is just too little. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I see. I I share the same sentiments. I mean, Pitbull will have to get close. He would have to first close that distance. That's going to be the first obstacle for a Pitbull. And Rolly, he'll just have to. All he has to do is depend on his range and on that distance and fighting backwards. So it's um stylistically it's not that appealing, but it's it's what it is. So Tommy, let's get your thoughts on that fight.
Yeah, man. I think to be honest, man, I think that that Pitbull could pose a pretty awkward fight. I mean, they're both, somewhat awkward, in terms of their styles, and so while we're talking about, Pitbull will have to get close, I think he's going to be able to get close. Like, I mean, I don't think that Rolly is really going to, have the skill and discipline to keep him up off of him. I think that 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 Rolly's angles will be in his favor for the most part, because that's the way that he fights. So that's his strength, is having those awkward angles. But I think that they're also going to open him up, in some gaps and some spaces that the way that Pitbull is going to approach him with that aggressive kind of, head forward, leaning in, rush in style. I think that that's going to pose some issues for Rolly, to be honest. Do I think that Rolly's going to land some great shots? Yeah. But to my knowledge, I don't think that Pitbull's actually been stopped before. I could be wrong on that one, but I don't remember him being stopped by anybody. And I don't think that it's going to happen here. So I think that, just thinking this through, the only way that I would definitely see Rolly winning is to stop him. And I don't think that that's going to end up happening. I think that Pitbull's proven to be tough enough to have that chin as well, and head, to be honest, to make it through these types of fights. And so I don't see this one being any different. And I do agree. And I think that, we could end up seeing a Pitbull actually win this fight.
I mean, you're correct too, Tommy, and that, Rolly, he's not consistent enough in his skill to keep him off bay all 12 rounds. So I think there's going to be I see a mental lapse happening somewhere in those rounds, where Pitbull will slide in there somehow and get his shots off. Great take, Tommy. Courtney, your thoughts on this matchup?
Listen, Pitbull has no business at 135, let alone 140. That's a guy who's probably listen. He's a featherweight who's fighting at lightweight because the checks are bigger. And he's going up to try to cash another one at 140. And I think there's going to be non-sufficient funds in that account that he's trying to draw from. Listen, Tank broke his hand upside his head and then proceeded to outbox him with his offhand. So if Rolly can keep from breaking his hand, I see Rolly sleeping him. You know what I'm saying? It's probably gonna happen late, but I know Pitbull has got a hard head, he's got a granite chin, but you move far enough up the scales, and that it does happen. They said Carlos Baldemir couldn't be slept. Canelo certainly did that. They said Roberto Duran couldn't be faded. He went up to he went up to 160, and Iran Barkley. No, not Iran Barkley, but saying Tommy Hearns. He had something for him. So you move up far enough the scales. It doesn't matter how hard your head is, or how granite your chin is, or how big your motor is. You find out that they're weight divisions for a reason. And I think Pitbull is really crossing the bridge too far right here. Even though it's Rolly, and I think the consensus is that because of Rolly's personality, people want to see him people want to see somebody sleep him or knock him back out the ring, like Tank did. But I take emotion out of it. I see it for what I see it for what it is, and not what I'd like to see. And the physics, the science behind this, it's not in Pitbull's favor. So I think that that Rolly is going to clock Pitbull off this job fairly early.
Well, here's the thing for that though. Like, I don't really think that we've seen from Rolly at 140 that he's got, you know, that power like that. So I mean, I think that will, in my opinion, will remain to be seen. You know, if he comes in looking like he can really, you know, carry that in like that, then yeah, it could be tough for Pitbull. But I don't really think that, you know, that he's going to again have that skill to really catch him and keep him off of him. You know, like how you said, some of the other fighters that, you know, that have demolished some people that have come up in weight. You know, again, we are talking about Rolly here, and I do think that there's going to be some enough laps there that Pitbull's going to be able to upset him and you know, break up that style that he's going to want to try to have. I don't think he's going to have the smarts in those heated moments to really stick to a solid game plan. And I think that those are going to be the things that as you go through the rounds, he could end up losing some of those rounds, to, you know, based off of some of those scuffles and being in that phone booth and getting hit. So that's where I think that the power piece, we could very well see it. And if so, then yeah, I mean, I think it could be a rough night, but I don't think that that he's going to have the opportunity to really showcase that enough.
Good points all around. So that was the preview of the co-feature for the March 30th PBC on Amazon Prime pay-per-view. Tszyu, Keith Thurman, and also we got Rolly versus Pitbull. So it's going to be, we're looking for that. Very much looking forward for March 30th. But on our last concluding segment, we got some quick news and notes here. I'm going to run them down. These are the most recent major happenings that has happened between our last over the last week or so. So I'm going to run them down real quick, and then let's get everyone's overall reaction to these happenings. So first off, you got Long Beach standout Ashton H2O Silva improves to 11-0, 9 KOs, outpoints Estevan Falco on MVP Promotions' The Zone broadcast in Orlando, Florida. And also the day after, on this past Saturday, Conor Benn, who's currently suspended from competing in UK, he touched down in Vegas. He goes the distance against first time in his career, scores unanimous decision win over the tough Peter Dobson in Las Vegas, also a DAZN broadcast. And also we just found out Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk for the undisputed heavyweight championship has been moved to May 18th on Riyadh season, Saudi Arabia. Also, I know we're all excited about this. Sinisa Estrada versus Yokasta Valle for the undisputed minimum weight championship, March 29th in Arizona. The promotion will be led by Top Rank with, of course, involvement by Golden Boy in some capacity. And also, you got Artur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol for the undisputed light heavyweight championship, slated for June 1st, also in Saudi Arabia, also a Top Rank broadcast. So, Tommy, as I ran through these down, let's get your brief overall reaction to these happenings that I just itemized and laid out for you. So go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, I did get to catch pretty much some of the highlights of the Ashton fight, and that was solid. Like to see him get that victory, looking pretty sharp out there. Going to the body, had some crisp shots in that fight, so it was a entertaining fight to watch on that undercard there. The Conor Benn fight, that was back and forth. Something was enjoyable. You turned it on, something was on, in those moments. Yeah, a little bit of boxing going. So we got exactly what we was looking for is in that fight with the egg pun there. But shout out on that one, and it was just a little entertaining just seeing how everybody was on Twitter just responding to that fight actually. So that was actually the most entertaining piece as far as the fight was afterwards. So on that there, but Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. So this cut, I mean, we'll talk about it. We can talk about it as much as we need to, but I got my own thoughts around all of this as far as with this Tyson Fury and his shenanigans. So full WWE mode on that one, but definitely rooting for Sinisa. We already know how we stand by the Estradas there, and looking forward to her bringing that, going undisputed on that one for damn sure. And man, the Bitterbiev and Bivol fight, that's gonna be another really big fight that we all want to see. We know what Bivol brings to the table, and we also know that Bitterbiev only wins one way. So this one's gonna be a powerhouse right there. And definitely looking forward to that one. That one's gonna be some fireworks, man, for sure.
Great stuff, Tommy. Tiffany, your reaction to these happenings that we see here?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to see the 2 DAZN cards that we have listed because I was actually watching the DAZN card on Friday night because some guy from my hometown, Quayshawn Toller, he was the main event on that card, and somebody else I know who's a deaf fighter, Quiet Storm, he was on that card. So that was a card I was watching instead. Unfortunately, Quayshawn did not win, but I still, we still support him back home in Cincinnati. So we hope, that he can, move forward and continue to champion in the welterweight division. As far as Tyson Fury, I'm just over this drama king, man. I'm just so over him. I feel like it's intentional. Like, how are you so close to a fight and get hurt? It's just you are a professional. This is unimaginable. What is going on? So I don't know. I'm just over him, and now I just want Usyk to beat the hell out of him because I'm just over the shenanigans. Like Tommy said, I'm just over it. Of course, I got to root for my girl, Sinisa Estrada. I hope she gets that undisputed. That'll be another win for women in boxing, having another undisputed champion, doing some things like that. So I'm excited for that. And of course, everybody wants to see the better be a fight in Bivol. That's a big fight. Unfortunately, I got to save my money just in case Terence Crawford fights Canelo, so I can't go to Saudi Arabia for this one, but I will be watching. So I'm excited for that. And that's my comments.
Awesome. A quick thought on Beterbiev for Bivol. That's gonna. As talented as Bivol is, I think I'm gonna see. I see a dominating win for Beterbiev though. I mean, he's a different type of animal beast. I think he's gonna pose some real tangible problems for Bivol. Despite what we saw, what Bivol did to Canelo, I just think in terms of they're fighting in their national weight class, I think Beterbiev has the upper hand against Bivol. And as far as Estrada and Yokasa Valle, I know we had Estrada here, multiple times, the camp, of course we root for her. But looking at Yokasa Valle, I mean, I always wondered where that beef, that beef magnified, where that intensified from, because I have no reason to really dislike Valle other than the fact that she just happens to have the other 2 belts. But I just wonder where's that inner, that passion against Valle. Where does that stem from Sinisa? I always wondered that. So that's just my thoughts on that. But Corny, we got you back on. Your brief takes on these quick news and notes. Go ahead, Corny.
Well, I'll hop in on this on answering your question to give you a theory, man. I don't think in boxing a lot of times those hard feelings are manufactured. You know what I'm saying? You can't go into a big match with somebody and think, oh, he's a cool guy. You know what I'm saying? Like I like her, she cool. You know what I'm saying? We're just gonna do this fight or whatever. Like, nah. Like Valle went in and was like, yo, I'm trying to fight this chick and take, because she's the one standing in the way of me being undisputed. So she went in there, and I just think she went in there and she is conducting herself in a way where she's chosen to be the villain, she's chosen to be the antagonist, and Sinisa Estrada, shout out to her, standing alumnus, shown a lot of love, been on the show multiple times. But we also know that Sinisa is very direct in addressing people who are talking, and she did that with Marlon Esparza. And I think Valle, she saw her inroad into getting her to sign for that fight. and she took it, and basically when Tanisa was in there and was enjoying her victory and doing her little interview, you know what I'm saying? That's when Valle turned. She was like, "All right, you're super bad. You know what I'm saying? You are a superhero. That's how you were stylizing yourself. I'm gonna be a super villain." And came in there and hit it with that slick line. You fill arenas, I fill stadiums. And from a fan perspective, I knew from jump that it's on. Just knowing Tanisa's personality and how she responds to people who are talking, and the fact that Valle is standing in her way of being undisputed, and so I think it's easy for the bad feelings and the animosity to factor into that. And it's good television, it sells tickets, and it gets people to tune in, and I think we definitely will be. But I don't really think that's going to be as good of a fight as it's being anticipated. I think it's I see the parallels with Christina Hammer, which in her War Awards with Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. I think it's just one of those things where she's talking herself into an ass whooping and into the fight. And I think I think super bad is going to get super ugly on her. So that's how I see that going. As far as Artur Beterbiev and Bivol, it's easy. I understand it. It's easy to take Beterbiev as the favorite, as the quick pick on that fight, because I mean, look at his record. It's all KOs. But I'm saying I really like Bivol in this fight because I think when you got a guy who is a big, concussive, and brutal puncher like Beterbiev, the guys who usually take that donut for them are guys who are composed and poised in that ring. We saw that with Kovalev when he was snatching everybody's heart. And SOG, Andre Ward, came in there, went to the canvas early, got up and did what he had to do, and then came back in that rematch and put him away. But I think with Bivol and what he demonstrated against Canelo, it's going to be a fight where you got a guy like Beterbiev who is a hauntingly damaging puncher against a guy in Bivol who is supremely sound. Coming out of that old Soviet era system in those gyms out there. And I think Bivol just does everything else too well in order for Beterbiev's power to be a factor. I think Bivol with his footwork, I think with his jab, he's going to be out of the way of the power, and he's going to be able to neutralize Beterbiev coming forward. So that's my early prediction, is that Bivol comes away with the victory in that fight. As far as Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, listen, I take a lot of heat for my opinion of Fury. You know what I'm saying? I really don't like the guy. You know what I'm saying? If there's someone in boxing I dislike, Tyson Fury is definitely in my top 5, maybe top 3. But the guy can fight his ass off, man. And the guy, I think his supreme marketability has always been is he lulls everybody into believing like, hey, he's, you know what I'm saying, this is going to be, he's not going to be up for it. Hey, he's out there screwing off. His head's not in the game. And then he comes out and he renders a beautiful performance. I think this is how it's going to go against Usyk. But I'll tell you this also, though, about that fight. I'd be the happiest person on this broadcast if Usyk shut him up. I've been waiting, you know, and it's a revenge factor too, because y'all know how I feel about my boy Bomb Squad. Y'all, I'm still saying it. Y'all know how I feel about it, but yeah, I would love to see somebody get shut Tyson Fury down and basically end the conversation on him. But I just, if you look at the size advantage, if you look at everything that Tyson Fury does well, I think that's a bridge too far for Usyk. As far as Conor Ben, I'm not going to give that any energy because y'all already know how I feel about that. And as far as Ashton Silva, he's coming along nicely, and definitely was impressed by his performance, and definitely he's going to be one to watch, and he's going to provide a lot of fun fights and a lot more fodder for further discussion on this show in the future, I believe.
Awesome. So that's going to conclude episode 98 of the Standing 8 podcast, first episode of 2024. Thank you for all the supporters out there for your patience. But now we're back in the routine of things. So, Tommy, any last shout outs, closing words you want to give out? Go ahead, Tommy.
Hey man, one shout out to all of y'all for being on, getting this on and cracking. Hey, as always, we miss our usual culprits, Michael Gomes, Steven Ruiz ringside. Feel better, man. Shout out to everybody that hopped in the chat. All of the supporters in the chat, online, all of that, man. Just shout out. Also, shout out to Johnny Kanyas Sugarcane from State of the Art Boxing, who also fought on the Mugia undercard as well with Coach Heck. They got that first round knockout. Looked real sharp out there, Sugarcane. So hey, keep up the great work. 3-0, two knockouts. So he's on the rise, just getting started. But more big things coming from him as well. Just man, shout out to all the listeners, all the supporters. Continue to like, share, comment, hop in the chat with us as always. And everybody be blessed and stay healthy. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tommy. Tiffany, the first lady of boxing. Any closing words, shout outs you want to give out?
Shout out to all you guys here, all our panelists, all the people in the audience online that's engaging with us, commenting, shouting out the whole team. So thank you for doing that. I wanted to say a special shout out to Luke Reagan. He's got a fight coming up March the 2nd in Verona, New York. He'll be on the ESPN card, top ranked. So shout out to him, and I hope he is a victor at the end of the night. So shout out to everybody back home in Cincinnati. Be blessed.
Awesome. And Courtney, the Bird Brown Sugar, got an Oscar speech for us tonight. Go ahead, Tommy.
I'm gonna defer on that. Hey, Aaron, you know I don't like to speak out of turn, man. But if I may, can I make my shout out a segue into what we got potentially for him on 99? In terms of, shout out to my boy Gamezilla doing his thing down here with his blog series Black in Mexico. We got a treat for y'all. Sometimes we like to segue, and because we know that y'all are more than just boxing fans, and we don't like to put people in boxes around here. So hopefully on the next episode 99, we're gonna get my boy Gamezilla on here to talk about his project and his raising awareness of travel, particularly in the Black community, in terms of international travel, international living, international lifestyle, and health and fitness. I can't wait for that. He's also a huge boxing fan, so I know he can't wait to collab with us and get on here to cut up and talk some mess with us. But I think that's going to be a great show, and it's going to have a lot of energy on it. So shout out to Gamezilla. Shout out to everybody doing their thing internationally, our domestic viewers and listeners who are doing their thing abroad internationally, and also our international viewers who just make this what it is, showing so much love and just giving us so much reach. Thank you all for being a part of this movement. We hope you will continue to rock with us into 2024, and so that we can expand this movement, and that we can continue collaborating with other platforms. And we on here, we're just trying to make everybody's fans our fans, and we're trying to make our fans everybody else's fans. I say it all the time. There's enough space in this sphere for everybody to get a piece. Thank you for sitting down at the table with us and inviting us to yours. And let's get it. Let's continue the movement. bring a friend, bring a neighbor, bring your mama, your daddy, your grandma, your auntie, your baby's mama's cousins, classmates. Hey, anybody you can off the street. Hey, it's active over here. Get down with us.
Awesome words, Courtney and Tiffany and Tommy, and yeah, we look very forward to Gainzilla. It's been in the talks. We're very excited to have him on. Hopefully, in the next episode, God willing. But on that note, this is episode 98. Thank you for watching, tuning in. Have a safe night, gentlemen. Yep. Oh yeah. Rest in peace to Carl Weathers. You know, a bona fide actor, an intricate part in the Rocky series, the Mandalorian, Billy Madison, right? The golf movie with Adam Sandler.
Yep.
I got that right. But Action Jackson.
Oh yeah, all of it. Yeah, man.
And also rest in peace. I don't want to butcher his name, but Courtney, it was a sad story. A Japanese fighter. You want to go further on that? And yeah, rest in peace.
Cannot pronounce the name. I don't have it right in front of me, but yeah. So to all our viewers over here in Asia, and particularly in Japan, we want to express our sincerest condolences and sympathies to the fighter, to the family's fighter, and the Japanese Boxing Commission, and all fans and all viewers and listeners over there in the light of that tragic event. It is our hope that he's in a place where they're putting a medal around his neck or a belt around his waist, because he literally left it all in the ring and left it down here. And we hope that the next chapter is a beautiful one. And we also thoughts and prayers for the continued healing of his family and of all people involved in that tragedy over in Japan.
His name's Kazuki Anaguchi.
Yeah, Kazuki Anaguchi. Had a whole future ahead of him. He was 23, 6-1, 2 knockouts. He was on the come up, but yeah, we all share the same sentiments as Courtney. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, as well as our thoughts and condolences to his family abroad. But yeah, sad ending. Yeah, rest in peace to Kazuki Anaguchi, Carl Weathers. Sorry to have to end on this note, but I think it was proper to give those shout outs as well. So yeah, and that's going to be it for episode 98 of the Standing A podcast. I'm Aaron Sorial. You see him there. Courtney, the Bird Brown Sugar. Tiffany, the First Lady of Boxing Daniels. And Tommy Rush Jr. out in Dallas, Texas. And also Michael Gomes, Stephen Ruiz. Shout out to y'all. I know y'all with us in spirit. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. You guys have a good night. Peace.